Good day, everyone. Dr. Polaris here. To pick up where we left off last time, in the 1970s, when the dinosaur renaissance was just beginning to turn around, there were two men who would revolutionise the search for the Mokele Mbembe for the next several decades, and their names were Roy Mackal and James Powell. Powell, a herpetologist, and Mackel, a biologist, were told of violent encounters between a sauropod and Congolese tribesmen by Reverend Eugene Thomas, a missionary who had been working in the region for decades. According to Thomas, natives of the Bangombe tribe, who lived near Lake Tele, were said to have constructed a large spiked fence in a tributary of the Tele to keep the Mokele Mbembe from interfering with their fishing. And Mokele Mbembe managed to break through, though it was wounded on the spikes, and the natives then killed the creature. Powell had journeyed to Lake Tele on two separate occasions, once in 1976 and again in 1979. Once again, nothing was found, but Powell convinced Mackel to join him on a third expedition in 1980. Mackel is widely considered to be one of the seminal figures in the subculture and pseudoscience of cryptozoology. According to writer Daniel Loxton and paleontologist Donald Prothero, cryptozoologists have often promoted Professor Roy Mackal, PhD, as one of their leading figures and one of the few with a legitimate doctorate in biology. What is rarely mentioned, however, is that he had no training that would qualify him to undertake competent research in exotic animals. This raises the spectre of credential mongering, by which an individual or organisation paints a person's graduate degree as proof of experience, even though his or her training is not specifically relevant to the field in consideration. Based on the testimony of claimed eyewitnesses, Powell and Mackel decided to focus their efforts on visiting the northern Congo regions, near the Lukwala-Oebez River and the isolated Lake Tele. As of 1980, this region was little explored and largely unmapped, and the expedition was unable to reach Lake Tele. Powell and Mackel interviewed several people who claimed to have seen Mokele Mbembe, and Clark writes that the descriptions of the creature were strikingly similar: animals 15 to 30 feet, 5 to 9 meters long, most of that a snake-like head and neck, plus a long thin tail. The body was reminiscent of a hippo's, only more bulbous. Again, informants invariably pointed to a picture of a sauropod when shown pictures of various animals to which the Mokele Mbembe might be compared. Mackel and Jack Bryan, a colleague of his, mounted another expedition to the same area in late 1981. The 1981 expedition would feature the only close encounter of the Mackel expeditions. It occurred when, while on a river, they heard a loud splash and saw what Greenwell has described as a large wake about 5 feet long originating from the east bank. Greenwell asserted that the wake must have been caused by an animate object that was unlike a crocodile or a hippo. Additionally, Greenwell noted that the encounter occurred at sharp bends where, according to natives, Mokele Mbembe frequently lived due to the deep waters at these points. 1987 saw the publication of Mackel's book, A Living Dinosaur, in which he detailed his expedition to the Congo and his conclusions about the Mokele Mbembe. In the book, Mackel goes to great lengths to stress the reliable and trustworthy nature of the local Congolese people when told tales of the Mokele Mbembe. The fact that the locals may have been playing up to these funny foreign visitors is never acknowledged, with Mackel treating his informants as if they were pure, noble savages incapable of telling lies. As John Conway states in Tetsu Podcast episode 53,
yeah, I think this goes back to the racism angle of some of this, and I think that what is it? The sort of the idea of the naive, noble savage who wouldn't lie to us, or and in a lot of these places there probably are people that believe it, just like there are a lot of believers in Bigfoot and maybe Loch Ness Monster as well. So probably, I'm sure it runs the full spectrum of true believers there to people who are just exploiting it for for the tourism or the money or just to have a laugh.
Then there is the distinct possibility that Mackel and Powell were steering the conversations with the locals in such a way as it fitted their narrative. A hilarious example of this occurs in A Living Dinosaur, where Mackel describes arriving in a village to question people about the Mokele Mbembe. I'll let Darren Naish recount part of this amusing anecdote.
There's actually a story in Roy Mackal's A Living Dinosaur where he says they go to a village and they say, "Now we know that you people here know of the Mokele Mbembe." They say, "Yes, that's our word for rainbow." I said, No, that's your word for sauropod dinosaur, like Brontosaurus. No, it's our word for rainbow. No, you listen to me. We were here last time, and you told us that was the word for sauropod, monster, like this. Opens up Zdenek Burian reconstruction. No, definitely rainbow. Hey, listen to me. They get their guns out and actually say, I am not joking, they say they didn't change their minds until we threatened them with our guns.
In a far more plausible interview conducted during the filming of the 2001 BBC documentary series Congo, where the Biaka Pygmies identified the Mokele Mbembe as being just like the picture of a rhino showed to them by the broadcasting team. As mentioned earlier, the creature is sometimes described as having a large horn on its head, which, when combined with grey skin and an aggressive nature, immediately brings to mind a rhinoceros. It is highly plausible that the Mokele Mbembe represents a kind of mythologized folk memory of a time when rhinos once inhabited the region, with certain features being distorted over time. This idea has not stopped cryptozoologists and creationists from mounting expeditions to the Congo to look for a sauropod dinosaur, however. The romantic idea of a living dinosaur roaming through the tracts of seemingly primordial rainforest is simply too enticing to let go. The cryptozoology crowd are keen to claim this animal for science, even though their methods and interpretations are not consistent with mainstream scientific opinion, while creationists view a living dinosaur as somehow undermining the theory of evolution. Even if a population of modern-day semi-aquatic sauropod dinosaurs were found to be dwelling in the Congo, this would be a fascinating example of evolution in action. Despite what many pieces of early 20th century artwork would have you believe, sauropods were not sluggish, fat-bodied animals that spent all day lounging in water. Modern science has confirmed that sauropods were firmly terrestrial animals that possess no adaptations for a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Therefore, a water-dwelling modern sauropod would represent a significant departure from what we know about its Mesozoic ancestors, and shoring up the theory of evolution rather than denying it. To this day, not a single shred of credible evidence has been provided to support the existence of the Mokele Mbembe by any party. All of the alleged photographs said to show the beast are either indistinct, of poor quality, or generally of subpar vintage. While video footage tends to show close encounters of the blurred kind, the most significant piece of footage claimed to show the Mokele Mbembe came from a Japanese documentary film crew in 1992. As they were filming aerial footage from a small plane over the area of Lake Tele, intending to obtain some background shots for the documentary, the cameraman noticed a disturbance in the water. He managed to maintain focus on the object, which was creating a noticeable wake. About 15 seconds of footage was captured, which skeptics have identified as either two men in a canoe or swimming elephants. Powell and Mackel's expeditions to the Congo brought up no significant evidence whatsoever, and you can imagine that their wealthy investors were starting to get a little tired of these repeated expeditions.
Where's my monster, Tubby? What do you people think I'm paying you for?
Other documentary crews would later follow suit, most famously the episode of Monster Quest titled The Last Dinosaur, already a stupid and fatuous title, broadcast in March 2009. Of course, despite using the latest technological equipment...
There's a big object here. Fairly big. Drifting along. Drop it right in, Rob.
The plan to move to deeper water seems to be working.
What's this? Look at that. Look how long that is.
The water is very dark and murky.
Hang on, what's this? What's that?
I don't know.
Gentlemen, your attention, please. I am detecting a gigantic amphibious life form. It's 80 meters long, and it's heading this way. Oh, good graving, it's on my shoe. It's a small frog. Just get off. Just get off there. Just get out of it. Get out of it. Stupid machine. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't the monsterometer. It's the frog exaggerator.
No hard evidence of the Mokele Mbembe was ever found by the Monster Quest team. In one infamous scene, the crew discover what they claim to be breathing holes used by the creatures when they hide inside riverbank caves. Do they ever investigate said caves or lower any monitoring equipment into the holes? Of course not. They simply end the episode soon after with nothing but local tall tales to show for it. To wrap up, there is one thing we can truly be certain of. There are no sauropod dinosaurs living in the Congo. The only people seriously looking for the Mokele Mbembe today fall into three categories: creationists, cryptozoologist cranks, and wealthy eccentrics. As mentioned earlier, the image of undiscovered dinosaurs roaming through a primeval jungle is simply too appealing to let go. We all need to feel like there's a little bit of mystery left in the world, which is why cryptozoology and cryptids hold a lasting appeal. Even in 2018, there were articles appearing online that seriously considered the Mokele Mbembe to be a plausible animal and repeat the same old talking points about the unchanging nature of the Congo and the blinkered nature of mainstream scientists sitting in their ivory towers. As appealing as these fantasies may be, they belong in early 20th century ripping yarns and science fiction literature and should, in my opinion, stay there. Thank you so much for listening to this account of the Mokele Mbembe in the jungles of the Congo. Despite the fact that this animal has no evidence proving its existence, it continues to hold a lasting appeal, which I still find rather interesting. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this series. I plan to include more episodes dealing with these supposedly African prehistoric cryptids in the future, but for now, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Cheerio.